Hello, you're turning now to your latest on your tropical update. Today, you can see what we're dealing with now is a couple of systems we're watching in the Atlantic right now. What we're going to start right now is with the Hurricane Center's outlook right now. Here's the latest of it as of the latest afternoon hours. It's around the 2 p.m. update. We should be getting a new update later on today, but here's the latest one of the 2 p.m. We're dealing with three systems we're watching. This is Tropical Storm Harvey. This is this is Invest 97, and this is now Invest 98, which is centered over portions of Africa. Once again, the arrow right here, this is Invest 98, this is Invest 97, and then once again, this is a newly formed Tropical Storm Harvey right around the Central American coast, right around the Honduras and Nicaraguan area. Now, what we're dealing with is we have this system right here has a lot of our attention right now. This one actually has been picked up by the models as being potentially a significant threat to portions of the Carolinas and potentially portion of the southeast coastline. Models are also latching on to this system right here, which is obviously labeled Invest 98. This one has potential not to be a significant threat to the U.S. at all. This one actually appears it may actually be drift off to the northwest before being picked up potentially by a trough and get sent out to sea. But with this one, we're watching it closely as this heads west into the Caribbean. This one could actually be potentially a tropical mischief entity that a good portion of the southeast coastline need to keep a close eye on, especially the state of Florida, right around the state of South Carolina, the state of Georgia, and especially eastern portions of the peninsula of Florida, as models are beginning to latch on to a potential landfall around that area. But once again, this is still several days out with Invest 97L, and we're going to continue to watch different model runs and see what the latest solutions are. But we won't have a good read onto this system probably as we get into. We'll probably get a better read as we head into the Sunday time frame. So in a couple of days, we'll probably begin to get a better read on. By Tuesday, as this system enters the Eastern Caribbean, west of 50 degrees latitude, where the waters are a lot warmer, the ocean heat current is a lot more sustainable for more tropical cyclone genesis. So probably by Tuesday, as it enters the Eastern Caribbean, we should likely have a better hold, a better handling on it, a better mind settling of where the system likely will be in the next several days in the areas that it could impact. So that's something to continue to keep an eye on. Once again, we have newly formed Tropical Storm Harvey, winds of around 40 to 45 miles an hour. The storm is right here. The center of circulation is right around this area right here. There was a pretty good ball of convection that developed just north of Honduras and Nicaragua, but that has since waned as beginning to interact with some land. There is some pretty good definition that the storm is potentially trying to intensify slightly. There is some outflow occurring with it. It has some outflow channels around the center of circulation, but there isn't a good development of thunderstorms that are around the center. There may be some trying to potentially redevelop over portions of west of the center of circulation. I'm starting to see some more thunderstorms to develop around it. And as this moves farther off to the west, begins to affect portions of Belize, this may actually intensify a little bit more, potentially to a 50 to 65 mile an hour tropical storm. Likely not going to become a hurricane, but will become a strong tropical storm before it makes landfall. The threat with this system will likely be, once again, potentially for some very heavy rainfall over Belize, El Salvador, Guatemala, as this runs into some very mountainous terrain. So mudslides and landslides are obviously going to be the main threat with this storm system. But that doesn't like any rapid intensification is expected, as this is running quickly out of time as it affects portions of Central America as it begins to make landfall. Here's a look right now, once again, a broader look over the Central and Eastern Atlantic, the Western and Central Atlantic, You see this wax is coming in, we're losing the sunlight. But once again, here's Invest 97L, here where my cursor is right here. I'm going to stop the frame so you can see where it's at right now, so if I can get this thing to freeze on me. Let's see, there we go. Well, this isn't the frame that was most recent, but here it is right here. Center of circulation is located somewhere right around this region. Now, once again, like I said, here is the latitude line. This is right around 50 degrees latitude. As this moves into it, right around here, look at the stratus cumulus cloud. These are where the most stable and drier areas associated with the Saharan air off the coast of Africa. But look over here west of 50 degrees. There's actually no stratus clouds located at all. The air is much more unstable right around this region, which will allow this system to progress off to the west and begin to have more development potential as it moves into obviously a lot more of a favorable atmospheric conditions. Now, there is an upper level low centered right around here, which is going to pick this system up a little bit, giving it a little bit more northern latitude instead of a straight west turn. It's going to have a little bit more of a west to west northwest, and then begin to take a turn off. So it could affect portions of Dominique or the Martini area, which is right around the Martinique area, over portions of the Lesser Antilles, of the Leeward Islands, and then begin to progress farther out to the west. Now, the track of this system is still very critical. Of how fast it intensifies, we don't know yet. But right now, it appears that the models want to see a shift is farther south to Puerto Rico, and then potentially interact with portions of Hispaniola, which is obviously Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Now, if that happens, could the storm get torn up by the land masses? Could mess it up a little bit. We don't think it's going to completely destroy it like Emily was. Obviously, Emily got torn up completely by the storm, but obviously Emily didn't die and actually regenerate off to the southeast coastline. But this one is expected to potentially bring some rainfall to portions of Hispaniola, which obviously does not need the rainfall. But this looks like it's going to be far enough to the south of that area that will not get completely torn apart by it. Now, there is two scenarios. This could once again hug up against right around Hispaniola and get swept off to the northeast and potentially make a landfall or somewhere hug against coast of Florida and then potentially affect the Carolinas. But there also is a potential this could go south of and potentially affect portions of Cuba before moving to the eastern Gulf of Mexico and affect portions of the eastern Gulf. That is why that area, the models have now especially the GFS, is really beginning to latch on to that potential of development of this system potentially affecting that area as potentially a strong, potentially even a major hurricane over the next several days. So that's going to be something to continue to watch. And this system is over a week away, and obviously things will continue to change as the models are not having the best handle on it right now because it hasn't even developed into a tropical depression yet. This is still an invest right now. But as this begins to develop over the next several days, the models will likely begin to have a better handle on this system. Here's a look right now. I believe this is the latest Euro map. This is the latest Euro. Yeah, the latest the latest Euro 00C tropical map. As I put this into motion, I want you to see as I put it back in the frame. Let me lean down so you can see a little bit better of it right here. Now, this is where the system, we're going to continue to watch it. Right now, there's an area of high pressure over Hispaniola. Continue putting in the frame. Skipping days. Continue skipping days. There it is right there. 1,004 millibar tropical cyclone over portions of western Haiti, moving right between Haiti and Cuba before moving around the Bahamas. This could potentially actually has it now going south of Cuba, hugging up against the Cuban coastline, before potentially moving northwest into portions of the Bahamas and potentially threatening the southern coast of Florida. So Miami may be in the line of fire. It has it making potentially a landfall or just skirting the eastern coast of Florida. And then as I go into the last few frames, hugging up against the South Carolina and North Carolina coast, not really making a landfall, but actually hugging up against the coastline. Now, with the Euro model being a pretty accurate model being this far east, that's why the cone of uncertainty is so wide. The cone, it pretty much extends now from the North Carolina, South Carolina coastline all the way into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. The reason that is because the GFS model and a couple of other model outliers are also showing the potential of a system moving to the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Here's a look at the no-gaps model. Not really the best model to look at, but it's also pinpointing the potential of an area of low pressure developing over around here. Not the strongest one, right around 1,006 millibars, I believe, if I'm reading that correctly, right southwest of Key West. This is actually agreeing with the GFS model of taking it farther off to the north. Make sure this in the loop mode. Okay, it's taking it farther off to the northwest, right around just like the GFS, has it moving up there and then moving on to the northwest and then getting pushed up north right around the eastern peninsula of Florida as a landfall area. So that's going to be something to continue to keep an eye on. So once again, the GFS and the no gaps are actually beginning to come into an agreement. Here's a look at the GFS, the most important model. Obviously, a lot of people have had their eyes on over the last several days. Continue putting the time frame. There's tropical storm. This is tropical storm Harvey right here. Here's Invest 97L, and here's Invest 98 right here. Continue to put. Oh, excuse me about that. Let's see if I can put this back in the time frame. There we are. All right, keep it on Invest 98L, not Invest 97. Harvey moves inland and dissipates into Mexico. That's pretty much none of our worries anymore. As I continue to put in the next several days, continue to put in the loop mode, you can see I see a new invest maybe trying to develop off the coast of Africa. But look how far north. Oh, excuse me, let me zoom back out on that. Sorry about that. Let's see here. I'm trying to zoom this back out. I think I'm having some issues now with my computer. It will not let me zoom back out. I'm sorry about that, guys. But here's the latest. All right, there it is right there. Farther off to the north. Let's see if I can get this to zoom back out. Let's see if I can zoom this back out. Sorry about that. Give me 1 minute. Let's see if I can zoom that back out. I was having some issues on me a minute ago. I don't know why it's the zoom far in. I don't know why it's just like this. Looks like it's having some issues. Right, the GFS is having some issues. But the once again, the no gaps is just like the Canadian. The Canadian is actually very in pretty much agreement with the GFS. Sorry about the GFS having issues, but it's pretty much similar to the Canadian. I'm sorry about that, guys. But it's showing the Canadian, showing the tropical cyclone south of Cuba and then moving northwest into the Gulf of Mexico before making a potential landfall somewhere around the peninsula of Florida before getting swept up and potentially bringing some heavier rainfall to portions of the interior southeast. Parts of Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas and Tennessee may get some good soaking rainfall. We're talking about some areas may get 3 to 7 inches of rainfall, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Some areas actually could use some rain, or actually in a drought, and actually could use some rainfall. So this actually could be actually a blessing in some aspects. Here's a look at the latest precipitable water imaging, the last frame I want to show you. There's Harvey, there's Invest 97L, and here's Invest 98. All three have a very good circulation with them, so it won't take long for these systems to get popping with this amount of moisture with it. They're just dealing with a little bit too much dry air right now. But that will change as they begin to exit. Once again, here's 50 degrees latitude. As they move past there, environmental conditions will become more conducive. So once again, that pretty much wraps up your video today. I'm sorry about the GFS having a little bit of issue. My computer zoomed in on it. I don't know why. I'm going to try and get that resolved. Sorry about that, guys. But once again, we're going to continue to keep an eye on Invest 97L over the next several days as it moves west into the Eastern Caribbean, the Western Caribbean, and then potentially somewhere around the southeastern United States over the next several days. So once again, stay tuned for your latest hurricane